These date caramels dipped in chocolate are the perfect no-bake treat that are naturally sweet, dairy-free, and totally crave-worthy. And they don't require any fancy equipment or techniques. Hello, my name is Nicole Bonilla, and if you love healthier recipes to our favorite foods, then you are in the right place. Now you're welcome to jot down these ingredients as we go along, or you can click on the link that's in the video description below. And that will take you to the full recipe with all the details, including nutrition facts, ingredients and substitutions, and frequently asked questions. Now to make these really easy caramels, you are going to need a food processor. And I've just taken 12 pitted Medjool dates, and then I put them into my bowl with just the hottest water that comes out of my tap. And then I let these sit for about 10 minutes just to help soften and hydrate the dates. So now I'll go over to the sink, pour off the water, and then carefully put the blade back in the bowl. Now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of some maple syrup, which I just think really helps enhance the flavor. 2 tablespoons of some cashew butter, but you can also use almond butter if you like. I prefer the cashew butter because I think the flavor is more subtle, because almond can sometimes be a little bit strong, but you can use whichever you prefer. And then we're going to add 1/4 cup of some almond flour just to help fill them out. A teaspoon of vanilla extract. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Now you will want to use coconut oil because it becomes solid when it's cold, which helps to set these caramels. Next we'll add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to snap our lid. And then we're going to start by just pulsing it a couple times. And that helps to give the blender a chance to break down those dates. And then we can turn it on high. And then depending on the size of your food processor, you will want to come down and just kind of scrape down the sides and then blend it a few more times. That is smelling so good. Well, I think that looks great. Now to form the caramels, I'm just using a 4x8 bread pan. And I'm just going to line it with a piece of parchment paper. So I want it to be the exact length of my pan. So I'm just going to line it up, score one edge, fold it over, score the bottom corners, fold down the edges. Now we can just drop our mixture right inside. Now we're just going to spread it out nice and even. Now, if you could use more healthy inspiration on a regular basis, I invite you to join my email list. All you have to do is click on the link in the video description below, and that is the best way for us to stay connected. Now, this is going to be a little bit sticky and goopy, but that's exactly what we want. So just keep with it and it will spread out nice and even. Now, these look great, but we are going to want to freeze them for a couple hours to help them solidify, and that's going to make it much easier for when we dip them in the chocolate. So while our caramels are finishing up in the freezer, we can go ahead and get our chocolate ready. And you can use any chocolate chips that you like. I just added 1 cup to this glass bowl, and then I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. And then we're just going to microwave this in 30-second intervals, stirring in between until the chocolate is melted. After our first 30 seconds, you can see that they're just starting to melt. So I'm just going to go through and give them a quick stir and set this for an additional 30 seconds. After our second round of 30 seconds, it looks like we might be completely melted. So we're just going to stir it really well until it's nice and smooth. Now, depending on how your chocolate melts down, you may or may not need to add the coconut oil. But I know that this chocolate melts down a little bit on the thicker side, which is why it needs a full tablespoon so that it's nice and drippy and easy for coating the caramels. All right, that looks great. So now we can get our caramels out of the freezer. Well, here's our caramels after they've been in the freezer for an hour, and they look so good. I'm going to take my knife and just kind of run it along the edges, and then we can just lift it up and out of our pan. And I have a paper towel here that I got nice and damp. I'm just going to gently run that along my knife and cut our pieces, and then we can kind of wipe off our knife in between, being very careful. And then with the help of a little spatula, we get one of our pieces up off our paper. Kind of tidy up the edges just a little bit with our hands. And then dip it into the chocolate. Use just a little fork here and make sure it gets nice and dumped. Let it drip off for a second. Now I'll scrape off a little bit of extra chocolate underneath on the side of the bowl. I have a couple of flies who want to join our film production here. And then we can just set it right onto a piece of parchment paper on our little cookie sheet for it to set. And the best part is coming in with a little bit of some coarse sea salt and sprinkling it right on top before the chocolate sets. And then once they set completely, they are ready to enjoy. That is delicious. Biting into that chocolate with a little bit of salt on top is so yummy. And then you get to that soft caramel inside that has so much flavor in it. And it's perfectly sweet from the dates and the maple syrup. And then it's balanced with that really earthiness coming in from the almond flour. That is seriously so good. And I love that it's made with clean, natural ingredients. And I want to thank you for hanging out with me today in my kitchen. I've included the link to this full recipe and it's in the video description below. And that will take you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.